what drew me into this whole sort of world that we're exploring here, I was never interested in spirituality per se, or words like enlightenment or awakening, liberation. They were never on my radar whatsoever. What I was interested in was always finding expression, free expression, feeling so, I was felt so bound up, so repressed, not knowing why or how to emerge from that. A real yearning to express fully, freely, authentically, unrestrainedly, unreservedly, unapologetically, to really show myself fully, shine myself into the world. And yeah, Raz says, me too. Yeah. I'm not sure what you're referring to then, Raz, but great. Yeah, so that impulse to really express, and that drew me into spirituality. And that's why I talk about this in terms of three kind of quite different elements that all combine together in these meetings. So the first was what I call discovering who you really, really are. So that's the inquiry, like the non-dual exploration into what is it that I am, what's here now, and uncovering this awareness that we've just been talking about. And then, as we'll go on later today, seeing that the awareness is being the experience, the manifest experience, and the extraordinary realization in that, and the wonder that it brings into life. So beautiful discovery. And after a while, realizing that discovery, that realization, beautiful as it was, it's not enough, because there was still this sense of block in my expression. And so that initiated a different journey, which was what we've been doing now, like really listening to what's here and uncovering these layers within the body and the psyche, as I see as two poles of the same magnet, if you like. Really uncovering the self-beliefs, just all the same ones that have been coming up, like I'm hopeless, I'm useless, I'm a monster, I'm the devil. And in wild anger, frustration, hatred, self-hatred, sadness, grief, shame, guilt, narcissism, self-judgment, inner dictator, inner tyrant, all of this whole plethora of characters, like the lid opened up on all that stuff. But because of that grounding in presence, in being, it can all be welcomed in. And I call this part the alchemy of transformation, because it's like that. It's like these parts that we've tried to hide, or not even tried, we didn't do it consciously. There's no one to blame. It's just what happens. In a way, you could see it as a talent. When we experience overwhelm, instead of something in the system breaking, we have a talent to freeze it down. When you freeze something, it slowly slows down until it's completely still. So there's a safety in that. But then those frozen, dissociated parts remain in the psyche, in the deep psyche, and correspondingly as a clench in the physical body. And that's, regardless of what we've realized, when that's still installed, that's what blocks our free expression. So that's what led me into that secondary journey. And that's the real beautiful journey for me, because as that stuff is welcomed and included, and those clenches start to soften, you start showing up. You really transform. And you really, really transform. Not because you're doing aphorisms or you're convincing yourself or you're doing gratitude practice or, you know, no, because you're literally going down into the roots of what's constraining and distorting the expression, and it's unraveling. And this is why I call it authentic living, because then where I think this all is all leading for all of us is this character starts to show up in life as a full expression of the being, the ground of being. So we're able to shine those essence energies freely into life. And whatever uniqueness each of us bring as a character, that uniqueness can come through. Whatever it might be, it doesn't have to be something that, you know, we would collectively say is impressive, like like an incredible intellect, or a, you know, writing a Nobel Prize winning novel or something. You know, be very simple. Just the way we meet someone and the way they feel fully engaged and held and welcomed and acknowledged. Just that, spreading that around the world. Beautiful. So this is what really excites me about all of this. So yeah, the non-duality, beautiful. And then this transformation process, beautiful. And then I mentioned a third part, and that's where I found myself going, which is, you know, we find ourselves living in a culture that celebrates what we would call scientific materialism or physicalism, which is the idea that we're all these separate entities made of matter moving around an independent world, independently existing world. And I really feel that that belief system that is inculcated into us from the day we're born is partly what's causing, you know, our growing rates of depression and mental illness and problems we're seeing in the world, because we feel isolated, we feel divided off from one another. And there's a kind of senseless, meaningless absurdity to that paradigm, that when you're like an organic robot that just sort of lives out its program and then dies, and that's it. I mean, in a way, what could be more pointless? And maybe that gives us all the more reason to just plunder the earth as much as we can before it's over, before we're gone forever and ever. So the third aspect is offering a different way of interpreting life. It's a model. It's still a model. It's still a map, and we're very careful to acknowledge it's a map. But it's a map that inspires a sense of union, wholeness, connectivity, re-enchants reality. So in these meetings, I'm happy to jump in at any point within that sort of broad spectrum. And it's my pleasure and privilege to do that, really. And thank you for all being here to enable this to be shared and to be expressed.